Hey guys, how are you doing? Thank you for watching this video. My name is Jesse. I'm a geospatial analyst, and I would like to share with you how you can learn GIS within the shortest period of time. Of course, this is a 9 steps approach. It has proven to work. I've tried it and then I've seen it works. What I want you to have in mind is that GIS is a day-by-day process. You learn it day by day. The more you practice, the more you learn it. You will not wake up one day and you are a GIS pro. No, you have to put in the time, the skills, you have to read, you have to do the research. But I tell you, within the shortest period of time, if you do the research, you do the reading, you do the practice, you'll be a good GIS analyst. Because GIS is a growing discipline. Every day they need GIS analysts. Look at crime, look at health, look at elevation, look at politics, look at business. In every sector they need GIS. So why don't you spend that time and then learn GIS? So I've prepared a small PowerPoint presentation to show you how you can learn GIS within 9 steps. So step 1. Different people have defined GIS differently. Someone has defined GIS as a computerized system for data input, output, and then manipulation. And then some other person has defined GIS as a computerized system that deals with spatial data. And then some other person has defined GIS as a system that presents and then analyzes and then queries spatial data. Different people have defined GIS differently. So what is the goal of this step 1 is to look at many definitions of GIS and then understand what GIS is. And then after collecting all those many definitions, you'll come to know the common principles each person has defined GIS. And then from those common goals, common definitions, you will get to understand what exactly a GIS is. So that is the first step. Then the next step is to know where is GIS applied. In this world it's not good to learn something that you'll never use anywhere. For example, GIS is applied in crime, for example in police. You see, after knowing how GIS is applied in police, you can read about agriculture, how it is used to predict how locusts will invade a given farm, how they are doing soil suitability using GIS. These are all vast applications of GIS that you can look at. I know once you know many applications of GIS, you will have broadened your mind, you will be thinking beyond the box. Don't lose focus, just read, know what GIS is about. I assure you, if you move from step 1, just move to step 2, which is to read about the geographical phenomena and real-world representations. Why do you need to do about this? When we are dealing in the GIS, we are dealing with world data. For example, if it's population, this is data that is collected in real world. So you need to know how different data sets are represented within a GIS. Let us say we have vector data and then we have raster data. How is vector data represented? What is raster data? So in this example, this is a picture. We have a tree, and then we have clouds, and then we have, I think this is rice. So if we want to represent this ideal situation in the GIS, how are we going to represent it? This tree will be represented as a point, and then this garden will be represented as a polygon, and then if you want to represent, for example, the clouds, we will represent them as, maybe we can represent them as polygons, I don't know. So if I want to represent the temperature here, I may choose to represent it as a raster because temperature is continuous. But to understand these representations, you need to read, you need to know how the GIS data is stored. Then if you know how data is stored within a GIS system, the next step is, actually in this slide I had prepared that you take some time and then read about raster and vector data, because actually this is the gist of the matter. It's the backbone of GIS. You know how to store data, then you are good to go. So for example, vector data, we have a given city, for example, Washington, and then we have a given telecom company. It has customers, and that data is stored as points, you can see. And then, for example, the planning authority may need the street data. They're also stored as lines. And then for each area, we have a particular land use, e.g. residential, commercial, agriculture. So that can be represented as what? As polygons, the way you can see here, the parcels. Then when we come to raster data, raster, they are just pixels. This is data that is stored with pixels. And then, okay, this is data in its natural form. For example, temperature, let us say rainfall, let us say elevation, and then as you can see, a combination of vector and raster data gives us a complete model in the GIS world. So my friend, you should take some time to learn more about raster and then vector data. That is step number 3. Step number 4, you should explore the GIS data sources, the metadata and data quality. Yeah, because if you are to do any analysis in the GIS system, you should look for data. You can get data from a friend, you can get data from a government organization, you can get data from the internet, you can get data from any data portal, whatever you feel like, depending on the type of analysis you want to do. But however, when you get that data, you should always look at the metadata. Remember, metadata is just data about data. It is a description of the data you have. When someone collects the data, they write somewhere the coordinate system, how the data was collected, what to use the data with, how to model the data, etc, etc. So you should always make sure that whenever you get your data, you understand it using the metadata. And then the other aspect is data quality. Because data is collected by different individuals, it is always good to know the quality of the data before you use it in your analysis. Otherwise, you may get inconsistent results. So whenever you get data from anywhere, you should always try to understand the quality of that data. Remember that any error you put in the modeling leads to an error in the final output. And yet we want our GIS models to be verified, to represent the ideal situation. So you should always look about the quality of the data. Step 5, of course, you should look at the coded systems. In a GIS world, when we are collecting data, when you are representing data, it is always referenced within a spatial reference system. So, for example, you have a GPS machine, a handheld machine, you want to pick coordinates of trees in an area, and then you decide to use the Regis 84. Then after some time you want to do the modeling, you may see that all the other data you want to combine the tree data with are in another coordinate system. So you want to transform them into the same coordinate system such that you can apply all the transformations. So this is one of the most important areas. Otherwise, you may model and then model incorrectly because of an error in the location. And then remember, when we are dealing with GIS projects, we always want to associate our outputs to a given location. So if you fall out in the coordinate area, then I want to assure you the analysis will be very poor. Okay, I hope that is fine. So point 6, look at the GIS functions. Look at what GIS can do. Try to explore. For example, I'll give you like 4 functions. We can do spatial analysis using GIS. We can do maps. We can do visibility, and then we can do network analysis. You should task yourself to look at what there's GIS, but what can it do? If I have this data and then I put it in, what can I get out of the system? And then by so doing, you'll understand the various ways in which a GIS system can be applied to use. Wow. I want to go to Okay, this is the 7th slide. If you finish looking at the various functions of a GIS, you can pick up one. Me, I've picked up mapping. So you concentrate on that, and then you do tutorials till you feel you are good at mapping. If you've chosen spatial like network analysis, you get your tutorials and then you read, you practice, and then you see, yes, I'm good at network analysis. If you've chosen something like multi-criteria decision analysis, you do the modeling, and then until you see that, yes, I'm good to go. Then step actually there is an app we created and then published it on the Play Store. It has all the content you need to learn GIS. It's a good app. As you can see, these are the contents. What is GIS? Application of GIS, geospatial data, GIS and real world, geographical phenomena, and so on and so on. I want to assure you, I have shared the link within this video description. Just use that link and then get that app to the Play Store. It will help you a lot. If you want to learn GIS, get this app. I assure you, it has all what you need to learn GIS. Just spend 1 minute of your time and then download it. It has everything. Yeah, that was by the way. And then, okay, at the 8th step is to dive into software. We have a lot of GIS softwares on the market. There is ArcGIS, there is Quantum GIS, and lots of many softwares. There is Supermap. Choose one software and then start with that. Me, I would advise you to start with QGIS because it's simple to use and it's free of charge. You don't need a license to use it, and then of course, depending on what you may want to use the GIS for, but otherwise, I'd advise you to start with Quantum GIS, and then you start by getting a particular tutorial, and then you move on a step by step by step. Yeah, if you should spend some time on tutorials, of course, but you should be specific. For example, you say this week I want to learn about this, and then after achieving that, you continue to something else. You move on slowly by slowly. I want to assure you, within a month, you will be good to go. Thank you for watching this video. In case of anything, just use the comment section, or you can just get back to me via email. I'll be willing to help.